This is the third part of the pre-registration examination online workshop. In this part of the workshop, we will be preparing for the general questions. Let's take a closer look at the blueprint for the general questions of the examination. 21% from Domain 1, 25% from Domain 2, 17% from Domain 3, 7% from Domain 4, 24% from Domain 5, and lastly 6% from Domain 6. Refer back to the first presentation that we had to find out the number of questions per competency within each of these domains. The pre-registration examination is an online open book exam. Therefore, you need to carefully consider what references you will be using to help you answer the questions. Make sure that you are bringing along to the exam the latest copy of the South African Medicines Formulary, as well as a recent copy of the MIMS or MDR. If possible, bring along a copy of the Daily Drug Use. Remember to always ask, is the reference that you are using current and up to date? You will also be provided with PDF references, such as the Essential Medicines List and Standard Treatment Guidelines, Good Pharmacy Practice, Good Manufacturing Practice, as well as a copy of legislation, the Pharmacy Act, and the Medicines and Related Substances Act. Have you considered what additional resources you may want to bring with you? Remember that we suggest that you only bring along textbooks that you have used before, and that you know what type of information you'll be able to find within these resources. Make sure to visit the South African Pharmacy Council website to find practice papers, as well as locating the sample examination papers. These are very important when you prepare for the exam. The pre-registration examination is an open book exam. Therefore, your reference material is very important. It's important that you have been through each of the references that you are going to bring with you. Make sure that you know where the index is, as well as what type of information you would be able to find within each of the references. Remember that it's not necessary to bring a whole library of textbooks with you. Avoid taking any reference book that you have never used before. And when using notes from university, make sure that they are up to date. When preparing for the intern examination, make sure that you are aware of what is happening around you. Are there any current events that have happened? We also need to be aware of the epidemics and pandemics, locally and globally. What comes to mind is the Salmonella outbreak, Ebola, and now what we're experiencing with the coronavirus. It's also really important to take note of what is happening in your work environment. Have you revised the SOPs? Do you know what processes are happening around you? What is the scope of practice of everyone within the pharmacy? Lastly, remember to always stay up to date. Take a look at the recent editions of the ePharmacia, the South African Pharmacy Journal, and if possible, attend CPD sessions. There are numerous sample examination papers that are available on the SAPC website. Have a look at the types of questions asked, even if these are older questions. Ask yourself, would the reference material I have enable me to answer this question? Take time to answer the questions. Be familiar with topics which arise. Remember that there often is not enough time to look up each statement. We suggest that the multiple choice papers that you have are used as mock examinations and that you complete these under exam conditions. Never assume that you got the questions correct and take the time to compare the answers with your colleagues. What is your strategy for approaching the general questions? Remember that you don't have enough time to look up each statement. Perhaps you want to identify the statements you know. Confirm using the references only the statements that you don't know. If you can't complete the question, remember, carry on. And if you have enough time at the end, come back to it. Never leave a question blank. There is no negative marking, so at least take a guess. Take note of the wording within each question, and be careful of the following. Has the question asked you to identify what is true or correct? Has it asked you to identify the incorrect statement or what is false? Also, take note of the wording most appropriate. Here, they would like you to select the most correct option. Just as in the calculation section, remember to maximize your time. You will have approximately 150 minutes to complete 80 multiple choice questions. There are 4 options per MCQ, so you will need to read through approximately 240 statements. In the end, you'll have less than 2 minutes to answer each MCQ. Thank you for watching this part of the workshop. Remember to email any questions you may have to interns@sapc.org.za.